first thing we have to do is to recognize the terrible racial disparity that exists within our criminal justice system. We also have to really allow ourselves to understand at the deepest level what it means, what private prison building really means. This is one area of many, unfortunately, in the United States, where people have built multi-billion-dollar empires basically off human suffering. There is something so immoral about the fact that there are people who will get richer if more people are in jail, and the devastating effects that this has had on our society. So we need to get rid of private prisons, period. We also have to recognize not only the racial issues, but the drug issues. And in some ways, those are connected, because black people, for instance, do drugs at the same rate as white people, but are liable not only in the area of drugs, but in the area of other things as well, get sentenced twice as long. We need to decriminalize most drugs, and we need to legalize marijuana. But that right there, it's amazing how many people. The day that marijuana is legalized federally, I'm letting a lot of people out of jail who shouldn't have been there to begin with, who actually are due an apology. And I'd like to actually give tax incentives and tax relief to people who are willing to then employ people who otherwise would have a terrible stigma, who actually were wronged by us, that so much of their youth had been stolen. Also, we need to give our judges much more discretion. They used to have that before the 3 strikes you're out and the terrible things that happened in the 90s. We need to allow judges, just like we need to give teachers back the art of teaching, we need to give judges back the art of judging, of the judiciary. Everything has become so standardized and corporatized as opposed to human. That's what's wrong with our criminal justice system. It's wrong with our educational system. It's wrong with our economics. It's wrong with our environmental. It's like politics has become a machine rather than a human pursuit. It should be an art as well as a science. And so this is why also we need restorative justice, and we need more conflict resolution. There's so much more that we could do to bring in the human aspect. Not only, by the way, there's a lot of talk, as well there should be, and I think it's a good beginning, what Jerry Kushner and Van Jones have done once people get out. But there's a saying when it comes to prison in the United States. It's too easy to get in, it's too hard to get out. So we have to deal not only with what happens once people leave, and yes, there should be all kinds of projects that the government actually supports that are starting to sprout up, where people can go through processes of transition and helping them how to build a resume, how to get employed, etc., scrap the box, a lot of projects that are in place. But we need to start on the other end as well. We need to return community policing. We need to have far more mental health services, not only for our police, and also for mental health services that include the kind of racial reconciliation, community reconciliation, and peace building. This is why I want a United States Department of Peace to also include a domestic element. There's so much we could do to build peace in our communities. I don't think the average American recognizes the level of stress, daily stress and trauma that the average policeman is under. And I don't think the average white American has any concept of the trauma and stress that any black person is under every time they see a police car or hear a police siren. You put those two together, and this is a petri dish out of which not only societal dysfunction, but the worst kinds of violence are almost predictable.